Hello, dear nations and species. Since semi-ancient times, we have not had mandated law followed. We have had states and areas in collusion with fact-cheating nature racketing styles as victims in a method that keeps all methodically effectively originally roles simultaneously and originally and still distinctly and non-distinctly propagated, blaming the real causes of roles also juxtaposed with as real causes of other people hurting each other, of liars, of justifications of, oh, that's my conviction. I mean, that's my sequence treatment. It's A, so B. It's A, therefore B, leaving out exceptions in exception nature, and that as a progressively valuable course, progressively denied by the identity of negative value nature progression, effectively archetypal breaching organized crime method. Having been, I'm not even a lawyer, thank God, because originally still was is recorded how uses of the identities of the law parted were in collusion with what our founders left to demonstrate had their identities forestolen into databases, forced to be a self-defense narrative in relationship to which James Madison affected, which is Marbury versus Madison, free speech, sequence truth. So we don't have sequence truth. We have offensive evidence reception and perception crimes that built precedents because of the reactions. Everyone, as regular citizens, simultaneously juxtapose anyone who would ever be an identity of the law distinctly and not distinctly. Further, any difference of every other people in relationship further, that was what was propagated. And so reactions to it, no one knew how to blame it on the right things. They knew that people would have, every modern nation would now have to react to predicate acts. There is all kinds of racketeering, for example. Racketeering is not only mail crimes are racketeering. Can be racketeering if it's associated with a criminal with racketeering groups. So we have racketeering groups recorded bonded and racketeering with their undercover originally and still. Styles of liar, fake sides of misprision formally, and because of that, they were already maintained, propagated, and self-cultivated all kinds of, again, motivations, natures, needs, interests to hide the same things. And that's maintained outcome because everyone originally and still misses how this is a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method. But since before that, and consciously as that, it knew/knows that it divided Native Americans. This is a fact-cheating nature racket that is keeping undiscerned that and how and why they will the real truth that is true always and distinctly and non-distinctly on each nature or volume of the truth, which there are 3 within our range, 5 within our range, simultaneously in the demonstration of what is making more forever nature as identity nature. And even each non-living identity or role attached to its body, which will only gain nature or volume till the bond of that even everything's gone. It's still value to what is really truth. What is really justice is system. See, we have to understand that every answer has this tied to it. Not this nature of volume. We are too filling, not just filling one as one nature of volume, but 3 within our range. An inherent nature of volume with its nature of order, the finite nature of order, active nature of volume, active nature of order, progressive. See, this facilitates people to using other people's names at the same time while formal people, former director of the FBI down. A whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with identity racketeering, where, you know how you see, this is also uses of, for example, George Washington had to come to Wethersfield, Connecticut, a suburb touching in Hartford. He had to come to Wethersfield / Hartford right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. And he had to leave overt slavery with color. And with his torture and with his fact-cheating nature of slavery, and with them, he didn't have a free identity with anyone. Have what they want painted in the databases. What they want to go, and so to keep in layers, if any kind of unity that would ever be made, contrast to other natures of unity in the all one identity of negative value nature progression, blaming the real causative acts of it, not valuing it, blamed on other things, others in themselves, having been kept needing to hide the same finite racketeering rules with prisons, for example, with libraries, for example, with medicine, with fire departments, with what is law, with we're all recorded originally and still. Delusions wrought, criminally foreign influence, trick, fact, cheating natures. So we have a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method. We have two Mendez police and their families recorded and confessed, touched me to fake conversations. And that's because they were involved with database racketeering with various natures of courts through time. And these are all, I never had a conversation with Gino Mendez in my life. And they put me in fake conversations, fake locations with Eric Mendez in the past tied to this. His roles with a whole bunch of people tied to a Leahy family and to a Yagman family with database racketeering, with drugs racketeering with the kids, as doctors of it, associated with various natures of courts and judges, with crime acts and methods and natures recorded. Actually, they're recorded knowingly that, and in the background, preventing mandated law and offensively. With offensively, while they're preventing mandated law, they're stacking all kinds, not only all kinds of natures of crime against people, but they're also stacking those people that they're influencing to it originally and still, with states and areas, all identities, law, positions already used as criminally foreign influence, sick weapons, worse than the overt criminal enterprises also recorded, how maintained to collusion with them, especially like private, interbranch, intercampuses of each age and nature connected, because it's an exploitation of all that is manifest with that, from the range of what is known with that, what is known but not told because it's classified, and then the range of that to what even the people with that only know and don't know. And see, all that is in relationship to conversations recorded, influenced, for example, per all roles, keeping and having kept mandated law from being followed, keeping and having kept, for letting demonstrated misprision uses of the identities of the law and of their identity of ground relationships, like the FBI, like their roles with WFSB racketeering, state uses of state police, racketeering with the FBI through time, WFSB, all database clicks, intercampuses of each age, a whole bunch of people tied to UConn, tied to a whole bunch of each age of campus in Connecticut, tied to Hartford Hospital, tied to, in other words, with this Leahy family, a whole bunch of natures of racketeering acts in a pattern sustained. And they're recorded threatening and torturing people since before the Iraq, before they did the Trade Center attack. These are fake sides. Pakistani, all these people was involved with psychology, with Justice Department rackets, with racketeering, everything, like statistical representation. So they have healthcare recorded and confessed, used to keep nations grouped, criminally foreign influence, identity to ground relationships to another method of racketeering that first it divided everyone. Native Americans, they made everyone blame themselves, blame the real cause of other things other than self, and then defend that, even when they're right. Like when you say prejudice, you're right, but you're leaving out exceptions, and it's being prevented from being demonstrated to you because we have intercultural that are reliant upon everyone blaming the real causes of what they already exploited. Every day in courts, there are roles with what really is involved with what's gone wrong and is going wrong. We have the alternative to courts involved with identity racketeering with them, mail crime racketeering with them, methods, evidence racketeering, faking recorded things in databases. A whole bunch of people with the DeMoro family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with further on off of Southstein Middle School. I never had a class with Eric Mendez in Southstein Middle School. They have people involved, like they use the trick, the trick outside of courts, for example. Of if someone walks by you and says something to you, then you have a couple a couple words in, and it's weird, and you never have a conversation with them. That doesn't mean you don't know them. So if you said you don't know them, you're telling the truth. See, but these are also time racketeering because these are people with various natures of courts. That like if I say something like that, I don't know people now like that then because they're involved now with preventing mandated law still. Since I was a kid, they prevented counters to their roles stacking databases with illusions because they're from off campuses maintained, motivated, and how former director of the FBI down, other agencies and their family members recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. See, because everyone know, but they don't know the extent. This is everyone speaking through everyone else. That's recorded involved also with criminal uses of untimely death, especially if made up criminal uses of people with the child sex offenders, especially if made up undercover even, because those people are further involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering against me and others. And see, they're trying to make they have offensive evidence reception and perception and sequence racketeering uses of my new and past neighbors with CCSU, state police, foreign and domestic police and military, and training of them, intercities. See, that's in another city for mine, all the way there, Newington too. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved. Also with the people with AT&T. Justice, these are child offenders. They also used people, a whole bunch of people tied to Phil Colon, also involved racketeering with my name, and people involved with overt criminal enterprises with that, and with child sex offenders, especially made up because they're further involved with that, with like New Britain Court, a whole bunch of people, whole bunch of ways, but a whole bunch of natures of crimes juxtaposed. These are people preventing free speech offensively by keeping everyone safe, by keeping especially how they lock whole groups in grammar schools tied by you doing a crime method through the kids. Like I didn't go to school, I never had a class with, never saw on campus. Lance Cuddy. I saw him one time off campus at a house on the other side of that is the on the outside of the house. I was on a yard next to it, and that is involved with some a bunch of ways. Retired and standing police forms involved with child offenders of a whole bunch of natures. Also has ones involved with elderly offenders. Also with ones with uses of identity of the ground because they were kept and keeping them needing to hide lies, finite, active, and progressive. They already invested them to fact treatment, value treatments within as identities of the law that were pretending to perceive things and are pretending things simultaneously received faked into the databases. So they originally and still don't have the capability of being independent. So every time they try to speak for independence, they're leaving out their actually recorded crime racketeering methods and actually recorded nature. The same way the overt criminal enterprises are victim predators, they are in collusion, especially with the private, with psychology. And now these are hundreds of nations agreed to private agreements that are juxtaposed originally and still roles needing to value originally and still each identity of the ground used to keep hurt, each identity of sophistication, each identity of perception, even as a whole group, each age forsaken. They need black and white, things like that, to hide behind, like plotted against each campus, no matter where it is. The same thing. This was designed for this. You don't in the suburbs. You don't. You there could be people in your grade that go to the same schools with you that live not that far from you, but you'll never see them your whole life. You'll never have a conversation with them. See, now this is distinctly and non-distinctly the same exact way, and is distinctly exploited. How it is not the same way. Again, where everyone's blaming not by accident, methodically, consciously, that maintained outcome. While they're preventing mandated law, they're keeping all kinds of, everyone's hurt by that originally still. So they're keeping all reactions talking about behavior because they have behavior involved with racketeering here, where they're preventing mandated law in a sustained way. It's not just, and they're even valuing, women are valuing, interbranch and private are valuing roles with recorded crime acts and methods with child sex offenders, even medical abuses of kids. Not for money. They're also valuing needed everyone having been originally having like a blind physical delusions and criminally foreign influence roles with what they say is money. What they say is just, oh, it's time. Because we never had liberation. We have Sub Rosa recorded. You don't even have to read it. You read it. The evidence, they're preventing evidences that aren't collusion with criminally foreign influenced natures of logic as criminal insidious nature. Not a doctor. They're uncorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with Miss Prisian, originally still with various natures of courts. Before they become to those positions with psychology, this originally and still already had all private, all places of desperation, real, made to keep everything lied about. What really is about associated with it. So these are natures of gun crimes with this too. People associated further on Maple Street and on and off the state judicial branch offices. Natures of gun crime where they're preventing free speech and they're stealing it and stacking more and more people to more and more natures of crimes with the branches individually grouped in together, racketeering natures with overt criminal enterprises, with and as their uses and value treatments of the witness protection program. For example, the stewards of it, because they're using everything to keep originally and still they had like through time, through generations. That's why we have the pathology of infrastructure that was involved with the torture and fact, cheapening nature slavery and free speech prohibited. Our founders, even though recorded, not let talked about, forced to be respected, lied about. And that is simultaneously with other people for other natures of interest, not by accident, appearing to be and actually being motivated to pretend other. So they say, "Oh, this let people just interact naturally each age." They never let them interact naturally. We have they already invested the branches to all kinds of natures of racketeering uses of each value treatment, especially each age of fact treatment nature, each value treatment. It's all right to have to be connected as a world, but not as the complete system. We have to be stuck because they can't think, because they're all uses, they're all identities like these gangs. They're brainwashed, same exact. They're used to really facilitate because the psychology originally still. I mean, nations have that bunch of liars within as the value of justice. Oh, I'm against crimes. They're sequence racketeering. They're already high uses of gun crime rolls. Oh, that's what the statutes say. We're supposed to protect them. We're not supposed to sequence shift racketeering act rolls, fake recorded things. These are trick courts the same way they were originally still. Various natures of them. All victims, but all victim predators. All evidence reactions to the method that is invested simultaneously, sickly, distinctly, non-distinctly, simultaneously against each age of fact treating nature. So we have to counter also how they have the interbranch actors with with their kids used for criminal foreign influences, actual. And then what are they going to do? They're going to say, "Oh, that's just undercover. That's what we have the laws say we could do that." They don't say they could fake recorded thing because they already invested themselves stuck now. They don't say that they could force various natures of juxtaposed abuses of each age of factory nature. Someone tries to counter by calling up and reporting parts of the problem because the rest of them that are recorded, no one will are tied to forging names and switching names into branch since the trade center too. On and off CCSU and Trinity College recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminal uses and confirmed racketeering uses of the judicial branch, people on and off the state judicial branch, by a whole bunch of people associated with and as federal criminal co-defendants of, and the lawyer of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his lawyer, Robert Chevrolet, and that location around them. A whole bunch of people associated with on and off Farmington Avenue, racketeering with state police, Weathersfield police, whole bunch of people with Kevin Dillon, Sean Dillon, Alan Dillon. I never had a conversation with any of them. Their Hartford Hospital report confessed, demonstrated racketeering roles and other natures of crimes with child sex offenders, with people with Facebook policing, online policing of platforms that are also racketeering acts, roles, uses of the judicial branch. Again, various natures of court, like Connecticut District Court, leading up to in trades, a whole bunch of people tied to Rick Faglione with New Britain Superior Court, leading up to that, and having confessed and recorded and demonstrated racketeering roles on and off Trinity College, on and off CCSU, connected through time as the roles with what they're not letting demonstrated, recorded, because we have interbranch family members and prosecutors and all tied to them, and especially how they have victim advocates involved with stealing identities of little kids and pretending they're for kids that they had involved, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Judges, retired and standing, even female judges, involved crimes with principal sex offender. No, a principal, especially if that was made up. He's involved with all bunch of natures of child abuses and natures of racketeering, mail crimes, medical crimes, drugs, and gangs drugs with the same drug clicks with New Britain Superior Court and other natures of court recorded and confessed and demonstrated leading up to the 2006 case, as the people also recorded, confessed interstates leading up to in the Washington, D.C. case, leading up to in the Ninth Circuit, involved with further racketeering roles in and out of that court, like a proven sequence shift right before the Trade Center attack. That proven led to the 2006 district case with former director of the FBI. Yes, federal criminal co-defendants that are involved with thousands of people with criminal uses of houses in my area, but they don't understand because it's everyone speaking through everyone else. So they're keeping people only capable of they're not allowed to use evidences like truth. In other words, they have right to lie, but they don't have the right to hide how they've been using the right to lie to keep states and areas criminally foreign influence, to keep the perception and the reception juxtaposed, racketeering roles with each database tied click, forging names, switching names into branch, individually grouped and together, hiding that, pretending they have precedents. In other words, they're reliant on how to capitalize on your YouTube success. Is advertising worth it? New from Shelley saves the day. I don't know, Shelley. That's just the message that popped up. Okay, I want to thank you for your time. It's from mine. Line. Religion. Trade. Long legion. The legion never revealed gifts not native pure. And they knew this for at first, be sure. Yin yang can't be separated. And alpha and omega are only exception, nature, and demonstration of this. But where and as and how they have exception nature, everyone with physical delusions, as a quality of premises treatment nature, of sequence treatment nature, as a quality of convictions that has no forgiveness, as the people prevent encounters to violence by pretending to be against it, knowingly misprision database racketeering, misprision interwoven. Misprision means a whole bunch of liars, fake sides of correlation nature. Now, so we have mosques and people associated with interreligious spots and on off their locations involved with racketeering that they had acting shown to them. The same way you could lie to an individual, they're lying to groups where they have the rights and they're undercover and they're influencing people to interactions, the branches. It's mixed where they don't realize and they do their roles originally still with vertical and horizontal identity racketeering, faking recorded things into databases, keeping the only let's help for presidents, criminally foreign influence rolls with it. So what do they know about? In other words, the crime method, for example, of pretending you're a lawyer. And in other words, you know that's true. You know about the law. You know more than other people, but using that to pretend not to realize that and how it is recorded originally still that they're leaving out exceptions, leaving out how you could show lawyers are involved, forcing sustained mandated law thefts and preventing counters. Because if you call up the lie about what is actually recorded, former director of the FBI down, leading up to and in the Trade Center attack, a whole bunch of other nations involved. They used DACA for it. The sewer stewardships are originally still worse than negotiated with terrorism. Nations' identity of group by nature one way. They grouped it, they made it self-value grouped and all together and individually. You value that, any one of that, altogether, negative value nature progression leads to IDs. Earth's distinct and non-distinct relationship to positive, better than the rest of the planets, is going away through us semi-ancient time. Because we're now criminally foreign influence, criminal nature, you can't legalize. How they maintain that self-value is recorded. We have to follow mandated law. So this is what we're going to do with the ancient gaming system, which there's all kinds of natures of racketeering, intercampuses of each age with this, vertical and horizontal database racketeering, and sequence racketeering. See, because courts are preventing mandated law distinctly and non-distinctly with the branches, with crime methods and natures recorded individually, grouped and together, pretending not to realize. So while I'm talking, they're pretending to be investigating things when they know all this is already recorded. They already did this in a sustained way leading up to the Trade Center attack in it and since, leading up to a 2006 case, a district court case with a whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court, other natures of superior courts, people on out the state judicial branch offices were confessed and recorded involved with that, with racketeering leading up to it, with all the people of the courts involved, interbranch police, their family members. See, but that that was is out of sequence their confessions and everyone speaking through others. And they're forging names and switching names. And they would just pretend things are recorded. And they try to they threaten how they and demonstrate how they could use guns, try to all kinds of different things to force, and all kinds of uses of the phrase healthcare, for example, is all kinds of racketeering with media involved with abuses of each age of fact treatment nature here, where and has and how this is also about that torture method and where they call jobs and what jobs are really a value as. I'll spaz. Relax, relinquish. See, this blames doesn't need to blame. This goes by what is true always and does not deny any exceptions and does not value them having been denied and denying them while denying them. Like how it is unfathomable to say so many ways that America won the American Revolution and or that we weren't even fighting England and where and as and how that was the truth. That was only in relationship to the fact treatment nature organized crime method that had that as a truth forced. The same way they had forced what black and white meant by every single person on the identity of the ground. I'll gather round. They built what was only capable of unity as negative value nature, self-valued. They knew that that would have nature itself continue to demonstrate negative value nature progressions, action natures, that each formal position of fact shaping nature would be in collusion with self-valuing the real causes of it, blamed on other things other than selves. And from those spots stayed in that lie progressions, engineered, propagated. Lie progression cover up nature's needs and styles. The blaming the other person. Oh, look, they're not, all sequence, all fake sides of correlation nature, but all sequence racketeering roles with what keeps nations again grouped, exploiting that. They're pretending like they don't realize where they have peace agreements with trade private. You know how many nations with psychology are involved with so many natures of crimes against they are trillions per logic. I'm not even a lawyer. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with groups that are connected to the simultaneous elderly homes, child campuses, and each age of campus, also connected to how connected to each nature of campus, and then unrealized systems because they're classified, and then the range of that to where even the people involved with that don't know, and then all that sophistication is not originally instilled. We have the suits and ties, religion filled. They're victim predators, and these are not means. And in other words, who says that if, in other words, we have agreements for where it was zoning laws, things like that. Who says that if we gave up the zoning laws, say, okay, look, see these shootings, these people and these people stacking, no vegetation. Why? Oh, because this person messes up. Put one plant, and then they'll blame the little kid. That in other words, each age is simultaneously sickly, never been anything but had all formal fact treatment nature as nature is a pseudo positive, therefore valuing what is hurting each position of sophistication as perception and as evidence reception and as experience, because this is exploiting. This is a child abuse method of each branch of government, maintaining them hurt adult predators roles with that kept the outcome. Uses of each identity of the ground already. What is forcing uses of the everyone, even their own kids, to hide how there are actually a whole bunch of crime methods, verbal, fake, recorded things in database racking, vertical and horizontal, that then sustains uses of that off of it. Sustains the racketeering method, consciously pretending to be studying things, pretending to be investigating things, so they can pretend not to realize that they're already involved with the racketeering. They're therefore offensively pretending to be against, consciously hiding it, hiding roles with those such predicate acts, like those further recorded with a Leahy family, a whole bunch of people associated with former director of the FBI, down with doctors and with overt criminal enterprises and with child sex offenders, proven a principal sex offender not far from me. His campus was his recorded confessed demonstrated. I tried to report things tied to it. I didn't even get to all I know yet. They arrested me by lying. They hid the confessions of a sex offender regarding his racketeering roles with other people already on the child sex offender list, but other natures of crimes, other natures of wire crimes, mail crime roles. Weathersfield police chief, whole bunch of police and people I don't even know through time confessed, recorded, demonstrated his racketeering roles. Whole bunch of people tied to him and his daughter. I don't know her. She was in my grade. I never saw her on campus one time in my life. Her extended family, a foreign extended with a Mazzucato family, involved a whole and other people with the school, a whole bunch of people involved with CCSU, with the educational department, with the databases at their campus, involved vertical, horizontal racketeering. And then from those locations and those acts, there are further sustained racketeering, criminal uses of the crime method, like the crime trick of pretending just because they have sustained on and off CCSU training of places, uses of like the bar next to it for training police or whatever like that, training of each age of they're all different kinds of natures of subjects, but everyone's missing how they're keeping all identities of law, maintain racketeering roles by using verbal federal crimes, by using the crime method to keep criminally foreign influence states and areas of police formed using the right to lie, using value the forsaken world. I mean, the perfect world. They use the perfect world in their narratives with their criminal foreign influence. Uses of Weathersfield town offices through time, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Also elections, election families. So they have the crime method of each branch individually, like the political branch. Oh, but this is how we can win. This is how we can win. So this is what the people think. So this is what we say. Otherwise, we just otherwise at the same time too, we'll take a position that, but we'll never let any of the exception natures. We'll never admit let anyone talk about how the mandated law is prevented, because all we need for actual evolution is recorded right now. We'll never let them know. We have WFSB attach me to fake words. The recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with various natures of courts and prisons associated with kids of all ages. Now, these are the same people from my town, interbranch, on off the state judicial branch offices through time, involved with other natures of racketeering roles, with the police forms, everything with responsible with a lot of shootings, dead bodies, like the housing tenements and things like that. This sickly, distinctly in every area, because this is designed per. That's part of the illusion. because they're using the fact treatment. So they're using how you can't force people to talk to you in the suburbs, and you can't avoid it in the urban. But in the urban, one way you can't have any sophistication, you can't have truth with it, and the other way over here, you can't have truth with it, and that's the whole thing. That is exploited, and no one cares because everyone wants to just get over who they know. Oh, but it's a good person though. They're all criminally foreign influence. They can't take mandated law, make opinions, but follow mandated law. They have online racketeering already. The online and policing were involved with racketeering leading up to and in the Trade Center attack. They're hiding their racketeering uses of Facebook. It's not Facebook alone. It's other their uses of other online platforms too. Their sensibilities. You know, it's all right. They have opinion. Don't sequence shift. Don't hide mandated law. Don't hide with the police from having people make simple connections. Who denies this? They're forging and switching names so they can pretend to deny it. They have the Britain Superior Court has people say things so they can pretend to believing things because various natures of courts then can um, make time treatments and present, oh, we made mistakes. They're making mistakes on purpose because they're also faking recorded things in the databases and preventing that from being demonstrated. They're forging and switching names as people involved also with confessions about this in and out of court, in and out of superior in the Britain Superior Court. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated all kinds of natures of crime acts roles with all kinds of Justice Department and Washington, D.C. police forms, military families, foreign and domestic, involve racketeering uses, perfected insights into identity of the ground relationships originally still currently foreign influence. The recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering election crime roles with media pretending to be, and with the FBI criminally pretending to be against crimes with Russia, while they have Russians recorded, confessed, and demonstrated and involve racketeering with this Leahy family, racketeering with various natures of courts, fake conversations with me through time, a whole bunch of people with the Wethersfield police chief's daughter from my grade that I with other parts of it spread rumors and things, fake things tied to database crimes, pretend emotions and passions tied to sequence shifts, to imply related things. In other words, tied to vertical and horizontal database solution stacking. I forgot their name, but there are people associated in the past with racketeering uses of through time now still active with Wethersfield Parks and the locations with it. These are the people with the religious cliques, Jewish Community Center, involved racketeering also with AT&T, how they kept and keep misprision identities of the FBI, of the CIA, criminal uses of the transition from ACA to RICO, criminal uses of how they react to predicate acts. So yet time protracts. Facebook's recorded demonstrate confess they're involved behavior racketeering with fact treatment nature, mental health care racketeering with various natures of courts and police forms that are involved with that, with all kinds of natures, other natures of motivations of and methods of crime acts, roles, and nature. Now there are also, I have to get a picture of it. So there are people with mosques that 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 are also associated with my high school when I was there. That are involved with racketeering, where they were pretending things through time, kids to fake locations. These are the people doing that now with child sex offenders, especially if made up, because there were also women judges, women doctors also involved racketeering roles. Sick men, and these are a whole bunch of names. So they stack the impositions. They torture each age of factory. They make people forget things and just ignore things. This is why we have psycho sick branches and election racketeering. WFSB is confessed and recorded and involved with racketeering with prosecutors with in Weathersfield, interbranch racketeering on off state judicial branch with WFSB with a Fianza family, people on off Two Rod Highway associated with child sex offenders, other natures of crimes and drugs with them, uses of that just real fast. In other words, women judges roles with sustained database racketeering and timed fake justice, aggression, and fake care juxtaposed. And that is exploited by what is simultaneously reliant upon that because of how they're making kids hear about other people's names out of sequence and of their same group and groups now how they nice to each other like that. This is to exploit down the road because they already originally still have life progressions from all private and all everything. All identities of database relationships have life progressions because they're maintained as a natural volume as criminal and seditious nature. It's showing how whatever there were a whole bunch of people when I was a kid. See, if you have a brother and sister, they're going to tell illusions to them, and then they're going to try to use truths and facts to hide, perpetually. A whole bunch of people with a park in Weathersfield are also with the racketeering with the Muslim nations, Pakistan, Russian, a whole bunch of nations with psychology, a whole bunch of racketeering uses of that, of the overt criminal enterprises too. And then what are they going to do? Their crime method is recorded, pretending it's just undercover, but it's not just that because their trade center predicate acts recorded, whole methods recorded. We have whole Justice Department racketeering. They recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they had a real or made up wedding of a Chris Walters used to simultaneously pretend to perceive and to pretend to record things because of various natures of Justice Department, Washington D.C. Trade Center, and courts in Connecticut, like New Britain Superior Court, and people on off Central Connecticut State University involved with racketeering with him, and with people tied to him, and with people tied to Church Street in Old Weathersfield, and the corner house in the corner of it, and then the Old Town Cafe, and then a little bit further up, a mobile gas station. He said a Ken, who was a guy I worked around, but I never had anything conversation with him, like at all, barely. I don't even, not even barely. Maybe just like a couple words, maybe not even hello. In other words, and then but he converbed non-verbally. I was called down there because they also did that because they needed to pretend me to fake locations because there's a Charlie Bose and he has a woman who says she was his sister who's a bartender of Old Town Cafe in Old Weathersfield. Now these are also a whole bunch of people involved with the extended family members, the cousins of a house of my family member in my a house 2 houses over with the people with the new and past house involved with the real estate agent and Sean Dillon, Kevin Dillon, Ann Dillon, with a whole bunch of other names involved like that, with a whole bunch of putting me to fake locations, fake conversations with themselves, and that is police forms. Racketeering with child offenders, untimely death spots they use for other natures of racketeering acts, and these are all enrolled. They use method of stacking a whole bunch of people speaking through others, then needing to hide, pretending like they were. Well, how come you didn't say anything then? Because everyone's speaking through other and everyone's forging and switching names. They're doing it off campus, intercampuses. Whole bunch of people associated with UConn, with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering. Every campus. See, but then if I call UConn, then what's grouped is all fakes. That, in other words, we still have law, and we have what train we have is with campuses, all database relations, private, involved with a vertical and horizontal racketeering method. There are proofs that this is why um, Zuckerberg is reportedly, I believe it was on CNN. I don't know where I heard that. He wanted to go into fast food if he didn't go into that. Because you had database relations, they're with where they have business, just talking about people's behavior involved with evidence reception and perception racketeering. Now the proofs of this are also because their roles with sequence racketeering. And UPS is recorded and confessed to demonstrated involved with that. See, but they don't understand that. They just know that they don't, because before I went to work there, and I didn't work there, it was just a temporary thing because of the forging names and switching names. And the Justice Department racketeering with what I knew was hurting kids. I didn't know the extent of it, but it's hurting each age of fact simultaneously, sickly, distinctly. It's reliant upon differences with the world, so they can keep how we have nations that at the same time are in collusion with racketeering, like elections racketeering, uses of Weathersfield town offices, whole bunch of people with a Kerr family, whole bunch of people with a Lucinda next to another religious place, and a Justin Klavinskis, and each identity ground, like the farms around there, right behind the school of the principal sex offender. There was further then and now. There's an officer Jerry Miller. And my new and past neighbors recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved crimes with a guy with a camera, racketeering with sequence racketeering, and crimes with a Dillon family, a whole bunch of people with Hartford Hospital involved with them, foreign and domestic, racketeering with New Britain Superior Court, racketeering of uses of intercities and their roles with the route up to CCSU. With my new and past neighbors involved racketeering with the house next to them, with the extended family members further confessed and recorded, involved racketeering with the child sex offenders with New Britain Superior Court as women judges' roles, as women state's attorneys' roles, as women jobs like with victims advocate roles, with sequence racketeering, fake recording things in the databases, preventing voices, stealing voices, behavior racketeering roles. You know, uses of that their perjury racketeering roles and natures. Originally and still, the branches individually grouped and together. It's recorded how this is maintained, also within as and how they have through time motivations, nature's needs and roles and interests to further avert drug crimes as the police forms with the schools trying to pretending to be against it, associated with the stop and shops and with Town Line Road locations further involved, confessed and recorded with tricks that caused me to be in people's locations so they could pretend I knew them, like a Tom Perone, a whole bunch of people with the end of Town Line Road where there's a mobile gas station and there's like a bar there. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with my new and past neighbors, state police, FBI, foreign and domestic families, military, involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering and roles with that sustained. See, but these are also sequence racketeering where they're preventing mandated law because there's also violence used, and they can't respond to that because I calmly tried to fight the violence, but the proper way, a whole bunch of different ways, always. Now, see, but every time I try to do that, they're in other words they're caught with sequence racketeering with criminal uses of people with the area. Already they pretended not to realize with evidence reception and perception crimes. Again, it's just your minds. Uses of black and white. You don't let this told. So now one person is letting demonstrated the simple racketeering method that's only extensive. How that originally instills with that's still motivated. Everyone wants to pretend that they're the recorded, confessed, and demonstrated leading up to and in a 2006 case, whole bunch of people from fire fire departments and intercities were racketeering with the intercampuses, facilitated everyone speaking through everyone else. And it's a method that keeps this the outcome. So we have a whole bunch of natures of everything stuck, stupid, as they say. But it's way worse than that. So they want you to say that. It's stuck criminally foreign influenced and that exploited. Live progressions from each database relationship click that were already live progression cover up nature's needs and styles from the identity of the ground relationship to our quality of fact achieving nature by correlation nature's actual means and words with free speech and with sequence true and with inherent order true, with active order true, and with progressive order true at the same time, and trying to be true always a little bit beyond that, because it is a little bit beyond that. The simultaneous nature that is demonstrably per science that at once, as positives also positive relationship to itself. This is the difference. This is why this identity of nature, of value progression, science actual, needs us to understand that and how the logic of criminal insidiousness as positive by and as criminal insidious nature, it's distinct from the logic by and as our nature with no criminal foreign influences, especially legalized ones, originally and still. And then that's juxtaposed with physical delusions, originally and still maintained self-valued because of the method of child abuse that is simultaneously forced right through administration's note, because Chris Walters, a whole bunch of people also confessed, recorded, demonstrated that racketeering roles of people associated with the corners of streets, criminal uses of that, like our systems, and with the Justice Department. Again, with this Charlie Bowes, a whole bunch of people on off Trinity College, on off CCSU also recorded, confessed, demonstrated a whole bunch of racketeering acts roles, a whole bunch of nature crime, criminal citizens, and like wrongdoing tied to that, forging names, switching names with former director of the FBI down, bunch of federal criminals tied to him and their family members, also with a daughter that went to my school. And even if all those were all made up, I'm talking about the acts and against mandated law. I'm talking about the whole crime methods recorded, forging names, switching names to pretend they're pretending people have conspiracies because they're preventing free speech, whereas how it's going to be integrity. And when you sustain that, then you get people blaming the cause of other things other than themselves, and then they start defending that, and that's how we're stayed. We lost in many fronts in the American Revolution, never had hope to win till we free speech, till we free our founders' identities as they demonstrated like this. Pull that from reserved, from reserve. These are old books, so we're going to put them. This is a racketeering method worse than the overt criminal enterprises, and recorded how using them, having used them, recorded how they stack all kinds of people pretending what's in databases is true. They can't understand the other, and with physical delusions. I'm going to delineate for you the physical delusions with psychologists. Their racketeering roles with their patients and with a whole bunch of family members of fire departments for how they're used, per the racketeering with a whole bunch of nations See, they use the identity of America, the identity of Russia to keep defended. Once they keep everyone defending that, you can't defend mandated law because you're defending styles of logic that can only defend themselves, valuing precedents not by accident, originally still criminally foreign influenced. Fear. So it means appear.